This half hour being brought to you by our good friends at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai, the best in new inventory. And the old wallet may be saying maybe pre-owned inventory. All right, well, if it is, well, then guess what? Pre-owned inventory, they go over every vehicle with a fine-tooth comb, which is terrific and makes the buying experience easier. Service department, outstanding. Quick lane inspections, routine, difficult, all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. All right, very pleased to bring in Audrey Snyder. Audrey, welcome back. Great to have you with us back on the show.
Good to be here, Steve. Nothing to talk about this week, right?
Nope, nice and easy. Let's see if we can somehow fill the time.
Yep.
All right, so.
Quiet week.
Yep. What was just your reaction? First of all, your thought process when the game ended on Saturday, and then the reaction to what happened Sunday.
For sure. Saturday night, I thought that was the end of the James Franklin tenure at Penn State. And, just watching that scene as he left the field and how toxic it became with the fans and the fact that, this felt like rock bottom for this season, for this coaching tenure. By the end of James's press conference Saturday night, I was like, this sounds like a guy who isn't even trying to defend his resume right now, which he did a little bit last week. He kept pointing to the body of work throughout his time here. But by Saturday night, to me, it was like he was spent. I think he also probably knew that it was coming. And it certainly looked and felt surreal. I mean, you watch all of this unfold, and by Sunday afternoon, when it's done and it's announced that he's no longer Penn State's coach, it's like, whoa, this is a massive change. And it's also something that like everybody, I didn't expect that this is what we'd be talking and writing about, let alone in mid-October. So, yeah, I'm surprised that it happened, but I also understood it in that fan response was so heated, was so toxic. It just felt like you couldn't keep trotting James Franklin out there, especially not this year with what the expectations were, with what, the financial costs of this roster were.
Yeah, before I get to that part, did maybe how he feel in that press conference, was that also a reflection of the Drew Aller injury?
What surprised me, Steve, was when I asked him about Drew Aller, he didn't try to dodge it. He just, looked and said, hey, Drew's parents said we can say it, so I'm going to say it. And the fact that he gave a very direct answer to, yeah, he's done for the year, I'm like, all right, normally there'd be a little bit of gamesmanship here, and it'd be, we don't know, let's wait till Monday, maybe that kind of thing. I think that was the other part that struck me as like, okay, yeah, this guy, he's not even going to try to do the gamesmanship thing. He's just moving on with it. But, yeah, I mean, that was also a really sad moment that happens late in the game, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, within, 10 minutes, Penn State loses to Northwestern. It looks like it's the end for James Franklin, and, oh, yeah, it's the most brutal way for your five-star quarterback to end his collegiate career, too. I mean, just surreal, one day after the next.
The players do have had an opportunity at least talk, I think, on Zoom calls and so forth. What have you been able to get from them that has helped your stories along the way to give you some perspective?
For sure, there's a lot of hurt in that building, and I think a lot of that is certainly anger. And, James Franklin was beloved by his players. I mean, yes. He was a player's coach, and you could definitely sense that by talking to the guys this week. And Nick Dawkins laid it out and said, hey, we feel guilty that we didn't play well enough, and because we didn't play it well enough, our coach doesn't have a job. And, I think there's a lot of probably confusion, anger, sadness felt throughout that building, because when you look at the 11-plus years, I mean, James Franklin had a hand in bringing in every single person in that building, from players, assistant coaches, coordinators, staffers. As you and I know, Steve, I mean, there wasn't a detail that the guy was not involved in. So literally every person in that building has some tie, some connection to James Franklin. And, Don DeLuca outlined it for us on Zoom this week, and he said, yeah, when I tore my ACL the senior year in my state championship game, he's like, I was distraught. I was crying. I didn't know what I was going to do with my career. Was I going to go in the military, to trade school, whatever it was going to be? And he called James Franklin, and James Franklin was the guy who calmed him down and said, hey, come here. We still want you to walk on here. Follow the plan, and we're going to figure it out. And now you look like this is a senior, a guy who's earned a scholarship, and whatever that means in this day and age, right? But, this is an integral part of your team, and all of those stories like that, I mean, you've got 200 of those in that building between every coach, player, staffer. It's difficult, like no doubt about it. I mean, it has the vibes of like a wake around here this week. I mean, it was weird walking into the media room Monday, and it's like, oh yeah, James isn't talking today. It is certainly bizarre to kind of experience all of it.
So now let's talk about the search part of it. There will be a lot of people that will be turning to you, among others, and trying to get whatever nuggets that you can find for them. How does a reporter go about trying to find some of the, without giving away the trade secrets? I mean, I don't want you to do that, Audrey. That would not be fair. But how does a reporter go about trying to cultivate just enough so you can get some information out to people because everybody's anxious for it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of phone calls, a lot of texts, and honestly, it's a lot of doing this job. This is my 15th season doing it, which is wild to say.
Yeah.
But that's the advantage of covering one team, one program for so long, is that you have a Rolodex of people that you can reach out to, that you can float things to, that you can pick their brain and say, hey, I'm thinking X. Does that make sense to you? Does that seem right? You have to have those people in your inner circle, and honestly, that's part of the benefit of living here in State College, is that you're immersed in this community, and you run into people from all walks of Penn State athletics, whether it's in your neighborhood or when you're on campus, whatever it may be. Like that's how you have to cultivate those relationships, and then you're trying to put puzzle pieces together, and that's what we're already starting to do. And the timing of all of this is so unique in that we're in mid-October, and realistically, a hire probably is not going to happen for 2 months. Mm-hmm. So there's going to be a lot of names floated out there, and there's going to be a lot of speculation, and you have to try and be able to shoot that down. It's difficult. It's going to be a stressful 2 months, and it's also a bit of a shock to the system because we haven't gone through one of these here with Penn State since 2014 with James. So it has been a minute. But yeah, I mean, you're going to hear all kinds of crazy things. And I think in this day and age, it's even probably gotten crazier since the last coaching search, just in terms of, man, there's so much AI stuff out there. I get questions from fans all the time of, hey, I saw this on Facebook or this photo of X. Is that true? And no, there's a lot of misinformation out there. So yeah, you have to have people that you can bank on. But it's going to be an interesting couple of months for all of us.
There's also another layer to this besides the head football coach. And the other layer that is now in the new world of college football is the role of the general manager. How do you view that layer of it and the importance of also trying to identify that individual that will take over that job?
For sure. I mean, I think when you talk about this, right, you're talking about a new head coach like they always do. They come in and you're talking about a new staff and a new roster. And, is this head coach, are they more hands-on? Are they more the CEO? And, it's interesting that you point to the GM role. Like, I think one of the problems that Penn State had and one of the reasons why it's in this position is that it did not have a dedicated GM for football when it came to dealing with rosters and negotiations and player contracts. Like, that is a big part of this game. And, it has Andy Frank doing the player personnel side of that job, right, with high school evaluations, and his role is like GM for player personnel. But the way the game has evolved, like, you need to have that person in place who is literally a GM running the program and dealing with contract negotiations, because that's where it's at. But that all comes from the head coach, and what is that head coach's philosophy, and how are they going to want to spend on their roster in the future? And when it comes to rev share, do you want to have a really top-heavy roster where, maybe most of your resources financially are allocated to your top 20, 30 players, or are you trying to preserve that locker room dynamic and say, hey, we want 90, 95 guys to be getting some sort of money? That's just where the game's at. I mean, you look at it with basketball. Both Penn State men's and women's basketball have general managers that are hands-on in the contract and negotiation piece of this. And that's something that football did not have. And I think moving forward, they're going to have to have that. And whoever this next coach is, I absolutely expect that that'll be a hire. In fact, had James Franklin been here another season, I fully expected that they would have had a person, in that specific capacity.
What are you looking at for timing? Because the season ends November 29th. National Letter of Intent Day is Wednesday, December 3rd. Portal opens in earnest on January 2nd and runs through the 16th. How do you view timing in all this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at that stretch between, conference championship games. I think that's probably in there. So you're looking like mid-December of when you really need to, feel pretty good about where you're at. But if you are pursuing, and I'm not saying that Penn State is, but if you're pursuing a head coach whose team's in the playoff, then how do you go about that, right? And how long are you willing to wait? That certainly becomes a factor too. And I guess the way the rule has been changed, I believe that once the new head coach is in place, then the entirety of Penn State's roster can enter the transfer portal, right? So you're going to have that whole window in there too.
Yeah, I think it's 5.
Because it is a coaching change.
I think it's 5 days.
5 days?
Yeah,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah. So you have that window that's going to be chaotic. And Pat Kraft even hit on it Monday. He said, hey, I'm not naive to think that our players right now, aren't having conversations or being back-channeled through agents and whatnot from other programs. I mean, that's going to be the other piece of this is, what does this roster even look like in the future? The new person who comes in, are they bringing their quarterback with them, whoever that may be? I mean, it is just going to be a mass overhaul in every area of this program, and that's going to be difficult. But yeah, I mean, you want to say the sooner the better. But also, Steve, I mean, if this team gets to six wins, which I think is going to be difficult when you look at the remaining schedule, say Penn State makes a bowl game, do they even want to play in the bowl game, knowing that all that's going to be coming for these coaches, players, staffers? I don't know what that answer is, but yeah, I mean, that's just another element to all of it too.
Well, I think as long as they have enough players, they would be contractually obligated by the Big Ten to play in the bowl game. I believe that's part of it.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. So, but you have to have enough players. I mean, that's the key to it.
Yeah.
So now we get to this stage. They've got Iowa this week. We know the emotion has been raw, as you've discovered. Any thoughts on this? Is there a level of predictability to it, or is there a level of unpredictability because you don't know how the players are going to react to it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be one of two extremes. Either Terry Smith finds a way to galvanize this group, and they want to rally together, and they want to win, and they want to win probably in part for James Franklin, right? I think it's either that, or it is, hey, this isn't it. This has been rock bottom. We've had enough, and they just flatline. I think it's going to be one of those two extremes. And again, with a redshirt freshman quarterback, there's a level of unpredictability with that as well. And you're stepping into a night game at Kinnick Stadium. I mean, this is where the leadership on this team is really going to be tested. And I know that Penn State's Leadership Council met this week, and Nick Dawkins was telling us a little bit about that. And the fact that Terry Smith said, hey, we got to get our grittiness back, we got to get our toughness back, we got to get our swag back. That's difficult. I mean, he is in a really tough spot as the interim head coach, but I think they absolutely have the right guy for the job in Terry. But yeah, Steve, I do not know. I mean, just because nobody thought that this is where this season would be. And on top of that, I mean, Iowa is a pretty solid team. Like this, back when everything was normal, back in the preseason, when I was saying Penn State's going to go 11-1, I had this game circled as this could get dicey because it's a tough game to play. And again, that's back when everything was normal. Knowing what we know now, It's going to be tough, but yeah, trying to figure out. I think we'll know during warm-ups. I think we'll probably be able to see some of that emotion, some of that energy. But yeah, I'm very curious to see what product they put out there Saturday night.
You had to put an interim out there as the head coach. What were your thoughts on Terry Smith?
I think he is the perfect person for the job. I think you look at his energy. You also look at what he's been able to do at the high school level, obviously being part of James's first Penn State staff and being the last guy standing on that coaching staff. And you look at the cornerbacks he's churned out. Yes, this is also an audition for Terry he wants to be in the mix for that head coaching job. But whoever comes in here next, I think this is the guy that you need to have on your staff if he wants to still be part of Penn State staff, because how many people do you have out there that can speak to Penn State as a player parent, as an assistant coach, now as an interim head coach? I think that institutional knowledge that he brings is incredibly important to whoever comes in here next as the head coach. But yeah, I think there is a level of, if you're him, it's all right, this is a chance to do things your way, right? This is your first time sitting in that head coaching chair, so to speak. And so I think they need to simplify the defense a little bit. I think they need to simplify the offense and tailor it to Ethan Grunkemeyer's skill set and what it is that they think he does best. And I think there's a level of complexity that's kind of gotten lost on this defense with Jim Knowles' scheme. And I get that you can't fix all of this at once, especially not in a week. But I do think there might be some benefit to scaling everything back and just saying, hey, you've got so much talent on this roster. Have these guys stop overthinking it and just go out and play. And I think Terry Smith can really tap into that with this group.
You brought up Ethan Grunkemeyer. He's had cameo appearances. How interested are you to see him play in this? Because it's interesting. Every Big Ten opponent Penn State is playing this year has a transfer quarterback. Penn State doesn't have that.
Yeah.
They have Ethan Grunkemeyer. So Ethan is going to be the guy who gets to start. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to like there. There's also a level of unknown just because of the roles that we've seen him in, minus the fourth down, which obviously you really can't glean anything off of that. Terrible spot to be put in last week. But yeah, I remember watching him play in high school, and there's mobility there. There's good arm talent. He also trains with Brad Maindler, who's the same trainer that Drew Allers worked with in Ohio for years. So it's going to be interesting. And for all the fans that have been clamoring to, hey, put Grunkemeyer in there, we want to see what he can do. No, this isn't how anyone wanted it to happen. Right. But you're going to get that opportunity now. And this is Ethan's audition for Penn State tape, for other school tape, right? For whatever this next coaching staff is, could he be a fit for whatever that offense is? We all knew, Steve, that Penn State was going to be resetting next season one way or the other.
That's right.
Just given, where they were at with so many of these positions, and quarterback was certainly one of them. So this is the glimpse into the future that nobody thought we'd be seeing, but also it's a tough spot to be in. It's a tough place to play. I think every Penn State fan remembers Taquan Roberson and 4 years ago, and that they couldn't even operate the offense because it was so loud. So yeah, I'm really curious to see how Ethan handles the moment. But yeah, this is kind of an audition tape for everybody for their own futures.
Always a pleasure. Thanks so much for your time and insight today, Audrey. I really appreciate it.
You got it, Steve. Take care.
Audrey Snyder joining us on the show today. And this half hour being brought to you by our good friends at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Kia, Hyundai, that's the best in new inventory right there. Great pre-owned inventory. If the old wallet dictates you got to go in that direction, that's fine. They have a great selection of pre-owned inventory, and they go over every vehicle in the lot to make the buying experience much easier for you. Service department, they do everything. Whether it's quick lane, inspections, routine, difficult, it is all at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, as we continue on News Radio 1070 WKOK.